The first thing I remember is the smile. Not because it was threatening at first, and not because anything terrible happened right away. It was because by the time that smile appeared outside our hotel room, I already knew exactly who it belonged to. Even now, years later, I still wonder what would have happened if my mom had stayed in the shower for just another minute, or if I had opened the door a little wider. I was around 12 years old when this happened during the summer. My mom, my younger brother, and I had traveled to a fairly large city to visit extended family. We could have stayed with them, but my mom preferred getting a hotel room, so we'd have our own space. At the time, it felt like a little vacation. Hotels always seemed exciting to me, and my younger brother couldn't stop talking about swimming in the pool. Since he was quite a bit younger than I was, my mom constantly reminded me to keep an eye on him whenever she was busy. While she checked us in at the front desk and collected our room key, she told us to wait together in the lobby. My brother and I settled onto a couch facing the hotel's main entrance. People drifted in and out carrying suitcases, chatting quietly, and rolling luggage across the polished floor. Everything seemed ordinary. The lobby was brightly lit, soft music played overhead, and the air conditioning offered a welcome escape from the summer heat outside. Then the front doors opened again. A man walked inside. At first glance, there was nothing remarkable about him. He looked like he was somewhere in his mid-40s, dressed casually enough that he'd disappear into almost any crowd. If someone asked me to describe him today, I'd struggle. He wasn't unusually tall or short, and there wasn't a distinctive feature that stood out. He looked average, so average that several different people could probably match the same description. Instead of approaching the reception desk like every other guest, he looked around for a second before walking directly toward a couch opposite ours. Then he sat down. I remember watching him from across the lobby, waiting for him to stand up and check in. Minutes passed, but he never moved toward the front desk. He wasn't reading anything. He wasn't using his phone. He simply sat there. Something about it made me uneasy. I tried convincing myself I was imagining things. Maybe he was waiting for someone. Maybe he had already checked in earlier. There were dozens of perfectly reasonable explanations, but none of them stopped the uncomfortable feeling growing in the back of my mind. Every now and then, I caught him looking in our direction. I looked away each time, pretending not to notice. Just as I started wondering if I was being paranoid, my mom waved us over with our room key in her hand. "Our room's ready," she said. I stood up, grabbed my brother's hand, and followed her toward the lifts. As the doors closed behind us, I glanced back into the lobby one last time. The man was still sitting exactly where he'd been, watching. We spent the rest of the afternoon with our extended family, and before long the strange man from the hotel lobby had faded into the back of my mind. The visit was loud and cheerful, filled with conversation, laughter, and the kind of family catch-up that made the hours pass quickly. By the time we said our goodbyes, the sun was beginning to sink, casting long shadows across the streets as we headed back to the hotel. It was just after 7 in the evening when we returned. As soon as we walked through the lobby, everything looked perfectly normal. The same reception desk, the same quiet atmosphere, and a few guests coming and going. I glanced around without really thinking about it. The man wasn't there. My mom smiled and looked at us. "How about we go swimming before bed?" My younger brother was thrilled. We hurried upstairs, changed into our swimsuits, grabbed our towels, and headed for the indoor pool. The warm, humid air greeted us as we stepped inside, carrying the familiar smell of chlorine. Water splashed against the tiled walls while a couple of families enjoyed the pool at the opposite end. It felt safe, relaxing. Whatever uneasy feeling I'd had earlier was completely gone. For the first few minutes, everything was exactly as it should have been. Then the door opened. I turned instinctively. The same man walked into the pool area. This time, there was no doubt. I recognized him immediately. What struck me first wasn't that he had returned. It was what he was wearing. Jeans, a thick sweater, not swimming trunks, not a towel over his shoulder. Nothing that suggested he intended to use the pool. He walked to a chair near the edge of the room and sat down without saying a word. At first, I tried not to overreact. Maybe he was waiting for someone inside. Maybe a family member was swimming. But minutes passed. No one approached him. He simply remained seated, his attention fixed in our direction. I looked over at my mom. The expression on her face instantly told me she had noticed him too. She wasn't panicking, but something had changed. The relaxed look she'd worn only moments earlier had disappeared. Her eyes kept drifting towards the man, studying him carefully before looking back at us. Quietly, so my younger brother couldn't hear, she leaned closer. "If he's still here in 5 minutes," she whispered, "we're leaving." Her voice was calm, but there was an urgency behind it that I'd never heard before. Suddenly, the pool didn't feel fun anymore. The laughter echoing through the room seemed distant. Every splash made me jump. I found myself checking the clock far more often than I was enjoying the water. 1 minute passed, then another. The man never moved. He didn't swim. He didn't speak to anyone. He simply sat there, watching. The 5 minutes felt far longer than they really were. Finally, my mom stood up. "Out of the pool," she said firmly. We climbed out without arguing. My brother complained quietly, confused about why we were leaving so soon, but my mom didn't explain. We wrapped ourselves in our towels, collected our belongings, and walked quickly towards the exit. As we left the pool area, I couldn't resist one last glance over my shoulder. The man was still sitting exactly where he'd been. His eyes followed us until the door closed behind us. For the first time that day, I realized this probably wasn't a coincidence anymore. By the time we returned to our room, the atmosphere had changed completely. No one said much as we changed out of our swimsuits. My younger brother, still too young to understand why we'd left the pool so suddenly, kept asking if we could go back later. My mom answered with a quiet, "Not tonight," before turning her attention to locking the hotel room door. I watched as she checked the latch twice, something I hadn't seen her do before. It was a small action, but it stayed with me. To lighten the mood, she reminded us about the rented film we'd picked up earlier that day. "Let's just relax," she said, forcing a smile. "We'll watch the film and get some sleep." I wanted to believe everything was fine. The television flickered to life, filling the room with sound that almost drowned out the uncomfortable silence between us. My brother settled onto one of the beds, completely absorbed in the film within minutes. I tried to focus on it too, but my mind kept drifting back to the man by the pool. Why hadn't he been swimming? Why had he been watching us? And why did my mom seem so certain that we needed to leave? Outside, the evening had settled in. The hallway beyond our door was quiet, broken only by the occasional muffled footsteps of other guests returning to their rooms. The hotel itself seemed peaceful, but that strange feeling refused to disappear. About halfway through the film, my mom stood up. "I'm going to have a quick shower," she said. The bathroom door closed, and moments later the sound of running water filled the room. My brother barely looked away from the television. I stayed where I was, trying to pay attention to the film, though every unfamiliar noise from outside made me glance towards the door. Then came 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. They weren't loud or aggressive, just deliberate. I froze for a second before hearing a man's voice from the hallway. "Housekeeping." The word immediately caught my attention. "Housekeeping?" I frowned. It was already late in the evening. We'd been out all day, and no one had mentioned that staff would be coming by. It didn't seem to make much sense, but then I remembered something. We were short on towels. Maybe they were bringing fresh ones. Without thinking much further, I walked towards the door. Looking back now, that's the decision I replay more than any other. I unlocked it and pulled it open. Only a few inches at first. Then I looked up. My stomach dropped instantly. Standing directly outside wasn't a hotel employee. It was the same man from the lobby. The same man who had sat beside the pool without ever entering the water. For a moment, neither of us spoke. He looked at me with a calm expression before the corners of his mouth slowly lifted into a smile. Then he gave me a small, casual wave. Every frightening possibility my 12-year-old mind could imagine crashed into me all at once. I couldn't move. I couldn't speak. All I could do was stand there, staring at the man who somehow knew exactly which room we were staying in. Time seemed to stop. I stood frozen in the doorway, my hand still gripping the handle as my mind struggled to process what I was seeing. Just hours earlier, I'd noticed this man sitting across from us in the hotel lobby. Later, he'd appeared at the swimming pool wearing clothes that made it obvious he had never intended to swim. Now he was standing outside our room, smiling as though we'd run into each other by chance. He didn't look angry. He didn't look rushed. If anything, his calmness made the situation even more disturbing. For a few long seconds, neither of us spoke. The only sounds came from behind me, the television playing in the background and the steady stream of water from the shower. My younger brother remained focused on the film, completely unaware of what was happening only a few feet away. The man tilted his head slightly. His smile never faded. Then, in a quiet, almost conversational voice, he asked, "How was your swim?" The question hit me harder than anything else. He hadn't guessed that we'd gone to the pool. He knew. That meant he'd been watching us closely enough to remember where we'd been, when we'd left, and now, somehow, he'd found our room. A cold chill rushed through me. I wanted to slam the door shut, but fear had rooted me to the spot. Every horrible possibility flashed through my mind faster than I could process it. Why had he followed us? How long had he been watching? What would happen if he tried to come inside? Before I could react, I heard something behind me. The shower stopped. The sudden silence in the bathroom felt deafening. A second later, the bathroom door opened. My mom stepped into the room, drying her hair with a towel. At first, she looked confused about why I was standing at the entrance. Then her eyes shifted past me. She saw him. Her expression changed instantly. Without saying a single word, she crossed the room in seconds, grabbed me firmly by the arm, and pulled me backwards. The force of the movement broke the fear that had frozen me in place. The door slammed shut with a loud bang. Almost immediately, I heard the deadbolt click into place. Neither of us spoke for a moment. My heart was pounding so loudly that it felt as though the man outside could hear it through the door. My younger brother finally looked up from the television, confused by the sudden commotion. "What happened?" he asked. My mom didn't answer him. Instead, she picked up the hotel phone with trembling hands, never taking her eyes off the door. She dialed the front desk. In a calm but urgent voice, she explained that a man had been following us throughout the day and had just come to our room pretending to be housekeeping. As she spoke, I stood perfectly still, listening for any sound from the corridor outside. I couldn't shake the feeling that he might still be standing there, waiting. As my mom spoke with the front desk, I couldn't take my eyes off the door. The room had become unnaturally quiet. The television was still playing in the background, but it sounded distant now, drowned out by the pounding of my heartbeat. My younger brother sat on the bed looking from me to my mom, completely confused. He knew something was wrong, but he was too young to understand just how serious the situation might have been. I whispered, "Call the police." It seemed like the obvious thing to do. Whoever that man was, he'd followed us from the lobby to the pool and then somehow found our hotel room. To my 12-year-old mind, there was no innocent explanation for any of it. My mom hesitated. Instead of contacting the police, she continued speaking with the hotel staff, making it clear that a man had impersonated housekeeping and appeared outside our room. Her voice remained steady, but I could see the tension in her face. She was trying to stay calm for our sake, even though I could tell she was frightened. Then, through the silence, I heard it. Footsteps. Heavy. Fast. They echoed down the hallway outside our room. For one terrifying moment, I couldn't tell whether the man was walking away or coming back with someone else. Every step seemed to vibrate through the walls. I held my breath, expecting another knock at the door at any second. But it never came. The footsteps grew fainter until they disappeared altogether. Even after they were gone, none of us moved. My mom stayed near the door for several moments before speaking again to the receptionist. This time, she asked if we could be moved to another room immediately. She didn't want to spend another minute where someone already knew exactly where to find us. The hotel agreed. Not long afterwards, a member of staff escorted us to a different room. The walk through the corridor felt far longer than it actually was. I remember looking around every corner, expecting to see the man waiting somewhere nearby. Every stranger we passed made my stomach tighten, but he was gone. We settled into the new room, locked every lock on the door, and barely slept that night. Every sound from the hallway, the lift opening, distant conversations, footsteps passing our door, made me jolt awake. I kept replaying the image of that man smiling at me, wondering what would have happened if my mom hadn't stepped out of the shower when she did. We never saw him again. The rest of our stay passed without another encounter, and eventually we returned home. Life slowly returned to normal, but the memory never really left me. Looking back now, the most frightening part isn't that I'll never know who that man was. It's that he appeared 3 separate times in one day. First in the lobby, then at the pool, and finally outside our hotel room after pretending to be housekeeping. None of those moments, on their own, seemed impossible to explain. Together, they painted a picture that still chills me years later. To this day, whenever someone knocks on a hotel door unexpectedly, I never open it without knowing exactly who's on the other side. Because sometimes, the person waiting outside already knows far more about you than they ever should.